Their market update. This is not financial advice, but we've been doing pretty well so far. So let's see what in the world is going on with the market today and what we can expect tomorrow. Because, this wasn't exactly what I called for. I will say that. It was an option, of course. Everything's an option in this market. But I did notice this morning, interestingly enough, I actually drew this trend line, this green one. We had this trend line, and yesterday, just as a quick recap, we pretty much said we had ended around here, I think. Oh, no, sorry, we ended around 381 yesterday. And so the question was that just people taking their money out of the market, and we were still in this upward trend channel? However, going back to last Thursday when we had this downward trend, was this just the impetus to be able to come back down in here? So it looks like that's kind of, I wouldn't say out of the question, but it's further out of the question now. Now we're still in the channel. This is pretty good. And one thing I noticed was, and this is what I was talking about before about this green line, is we are having lower highs. Of course, when this morning that kind of broke, that to me was a really bullish sign. I was really happy about that. Sadly, it things slowed down and we ended down right at that line. Isn't that really impressive? Some of these lines, they just kind of appear. And one thing I will say right now that I'm kind of noticing, and I'm not sure what to make of it. I still have to think about it a little bit longer. But look at this expanding triangle. And so I'm going to have to look at some expanding triangles to kind of get a feeling about what's going on. So let's see. It depends where you draw this, but maybe it's flat on top. I don't know. Maybe that's stretching it. Maybe it's kind of going like this, just based off of the lower highs. I don't know. I still have to really think about what's happening in terms of this expanding triangle. And when it breaks out of this expanding triangle, what's going to happen? Where's it going to go? Is this the end of it? I don't know. And so on one hand, that's a little bit scary, right? Because it means maybe we just hit the top of this expanding triangle. That does make me a little bit nervous. And so in terms of my long-term forecast, I suppose, I still am considering a downward move, right? I'm still considering a downward move maybe to the 369 range, with this expanding triangle is kind of confirming the possibility to, which is a little bit scary because I kind of wanted to get out of Tesla today and I missed my price target. So we'll see what happens. I'm obviously biased. I'd like for this to continue. And so the truth is, for the short term, I'm kind of seeing, hey, maybe there's an option that this expanding triangle is done, right? It's done, and we're going to break out in the positive direction, because in the short term, we still have this channel going on right here, this shorter channel, and we could expand right out of this triangle and move right up to one of our price targets, 403. We're not that far from that. In fact, we're kind of equidistant when you look at it, at 387 to the 369, that's about 20 points, to the 403, well, it's not quite equidistant, it's only like 13, 15 points, but it's pretty close. So we're a little bit closer up than we are down. Not that that really matters, but just to give an idea. And sadly, once again, we have finished at a kind of an indecisive point from my perspective, because these lower highs, we kind of came back down and we're kind of tapping that line. I really didn't expect that to happen in the last few minutes of the day. I was really thinking that this was a really positive day and showed some strength. And once again, in terms of counting how long these channels go for, if we go for another day, that is actually possible, but we might be stretching it. And so kind of what I'm thinking might happen tomorrow, well, we'll have to see exactly. But if we do go up, of course, we could always go down. But if we do go up, unless we break this 390 line right here, to me, that's going to be kind of an important line to break. If we can break that, I think that'll be really good. You see that we broke it today. This 387 line, we broke it today in the morning, and we just rocketed up until we hit this other kind of line in terms of resistance. And maybe it was too much to break both of these lines in one day. So in terms of the short-term trend, it's almost pointing towards this upward rally, which we've been talking about for the longest time, hitting that 403, that 400 area. From our Fibonacci numbers. You could have to go back quite a few videos to see that, maybe to the beginning. And so we've been talking about that direction as being a strong possibility. The problem is 369 was also a possibility, and we keep getting closer and closer to that number. And so that to me is a little concerning. And so maybe we're not even done this expanding triangle, and we're going to see another down day before we see another up day. I have no idea what's going to happen next. But this time, unlike yesterday when we ended at 381, I was a little bit more bearish, or I shouldn't say bearish. I was very indecisive. I didn't even have any idea. I think I said that I wouldn't want to call it at all. And we shot up very nicely. And when we broke this line, I was pretty pleased with that. And so right now, I am leaning towards the bullish direction. Why? Well, if we take a look at the chart in the 1 year, instead of zoomed in, let's get rid of all these lines. So first of all, you can see that we really haven't had a confirming day. That's something worth noting, right? We had this huge red down day, then a green day, a positive day, then a down day, then a green day. And sadly, we did not close above this previous day. That would have been much nicer from my perspective. But if we really want to have a confirming day that we're moving towards the 403, it would be nice to end above the current day. So we'd want to end above, and if we have that confirming day, then we can feel a little bit more comfortable about the direction we're going. And that's what I think. Even though this was a little bit of a doji day today, so maybe it's not as significant. I'm not sure, but from the way I'm looking at the short-term charts, like I showed you with all those lines, maybe I'm willing to look past the I suppose dojiness of it, because at the end of the day, a lot of this green line right down here, this bar right down here, is from pre-market. Why? Well, okay, let's zoom in, right? This is being factored into that bar. So mostly, I guess it's a little bit indecisive, but it was more positive. It's just at the end of the day, it came down. There's a little bit of indecision, or maybe we're not ready yet. So maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Take your pick. But it's... I don't know. To me, it was a little bit stronger than it was weaker, as far as I can tell. And the more important thing will be tomorrow, getting a confirming day in the positive direction would be really nice. Of course, that'll bring us closer to the new highs, which will be some resistance. But, to me, it'll be leaning that direction. And, of course, we closed above the 50-day moving average again, which is really nice from my perspective. Still doesn't rule out coming down here to 370, which sounds really scary, but totally possible, once again, in either 1 day or 2 days. But by the end of the day, I'm assuming that unless it pulls back up considerably, it's going to be hard for me to see us having a positive day after. We'll have to see. Anyway, in terms of the CCI, which shows us oversold, overbought, you can see we're right in the middle. It could almost go either direction in terms of are we overbought or oversold. So nothing really helpful there. In terms of the trend, I was really hoping for a much better positive day so that our blue line could come up. And look at this indecision here. Once again, this red line is just straddling the 20. It's right now at a 20.4, right? We said before that 20 was a little bit indecisive in terms of a trend, right? The red line is in between the orange selling pressure and the blue buying pressure. So a little indecisive. What could happen? It could go either way. Well, it would have been a lot nicer if the blue line, the buying pressure, came up. And maybe if it held a lot further up here, maybe that's what would have happened. I'm not sure. I have to look into exactly how the DMI is calculated. Particularly, I just know how it works, I suppose. But nevertheless, hopefully with another positive day, if we get a strong enough positive day, we can bring this ADX maybe a little bit even lower, curve it down, and bring the blue line up, the buying pressure up. That would be a really positive sign. And I know over here we're seeing that the post market's already at 386. It's down a point or two in terms of the SPY. I'm not too concerned about post market. Look what happened between today post and pre. It just jumped considerably, as I just showed you. So who knows? Now in terms of volume, this is showing even better that this is less of a left shoulder. You can see this left shoulder over here and this head. It's becoming less of a right shoulder. Why? Because there is more and more money coming into the market as we hit this higher level. So the higher we go here and the more volume means the more people are betting on, yes, this high was a good high. So that's a good sign from my perspective anyway, that it's becoming less and less of a left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Still not out of the possibility, not out of the realm of possibility, but to me, a really nice sign. Okay, so that's pretty much my opinion. I'm leaning towards the market continuing up in terms of that trend channel. We are kind of pushing it. We're unless we break out of this bigger triangle. Look at all these crazy lines going on here. Pretty messy. But unless we break out of this triangle tomorrow, I think we're a little bit pushing what's going to happen in terms of our move to 403. I'm not so certain that we'll get to 403 before coming back down to 368 or at least 381. Which, all these things are scary when you're leaning a little bit more bullish. And you know me, if you've been watching this, I'm bearish in the long term. I do think we're going to have a crash. But in the short term, I'm doing a lot of options trading just because I think that things could still go higher. I don't want to be in the market for a long time. And so options are a useful way to make money, I suppose. You have a time limit. And so that's my kind of prerogative right now. So a slight lean. I wish, some of the other times I've been able to be more clear about the direction I think we're really moving. But without a confirmation day, right, we keep flip-flopping in terms of what's going on. And that's kind of makes sense in terms of the expanding triangle you're seeing here, this kind of flip-flopping in terms of the days. And so we could just as easily see a red day. I am leaning, like I said, towards a green day, especially if we can break that triangle. If we have a good morning and break that expanding triangle, that will be that will be a really positive sign to me. But like I said, so in terms of the leaning, in the past I've said like 70-30 or 60-40. Right now it's even smaller. It's not like I don't want to take any position. Last time I didn't take any position on today. Now I'm willing to even just maybe so slightly lean in the slightest bit towards a positive day. But without that confirmation day, it's really hard to really give it that seal, especially with this negative trend still being in existence, right? We don't have the signal that the buyers have really come up into the world. And of course, once they do, and once this trend ends, well, we could be well on our way by that point. That's why I'm saying I'm leaning already, but it's just not enough, I suppose, especially since we ended within the red bar of yesterday. That's a little bit weak from my perspective, right? We came right back down, but so that's my opinion, at least in terms of the SPY. When we're looking at NVIDIA, so we've been just checking out some of these stocks still. So we're still in this channel, right? Let's look at the 1 month. We're still in this channel. We maybe broke out from it. So we could just as easily just shoot right down. We got apparently, according to TradingView here, we got a dividend. Maybe that'll help. Helped it go up. But sometimes people will sell off because they see the dividend kind of as a boost. And hey, we didn't even make it out of this channel, so maybe we're on our way down. That would be a contributing factor to the SPY going down. Now we're not going to go through all of the stocks. Just a few things that we've been keeping our eye on. In terms of Tesla, wow. I had said yesterday that I wasn't entirely sure, and I want to be totally honest about that. I wasn't entirely sure yesterday because we kind of finished over here, right? This was still the 8th of March, I suppose. So we were kind of in between both channels, right? This green channel and this downward blue channel. So the downward blue channel was within the green channel. It extended a little bit, and I had said yesterday that I had thought that we were kind of in the uptrend. Sadly, we finished below the green channel, and so we were kind of equidistant between each one. Where's the market going to go? What's going to happen? I had kind of felt that we were moving towards the positive. I had said that I'd bought Tesla options in the positive, and really I should have sold today over here. They were worth a lot more, even though it was the same price, but just because of the speed of the movement, I should have taken that into account. I thought that we might in fact reach this 700 mark. Why? Well, you can kind of see this moving average here, but more importantly, you can see the apex of this triangle. I thought we might, once we had broken this green channel, this downward green channel by so much, I had kind of thought, well, by that point, we broke it so much, so strong, maybe we're coming up to the 703, and I suppose I should have really sold. I got a little greedy, and then, of course, you can see that this trend kind of had the sale signal, so maybe this positive trend is over in terms of the very short-term look over here. In terms of the longer look, I suppose, it's just starting in terms of the year-long trend. You can see the negative trend just ended. So maybe in terms of the longer time horizon, you have a lot more time for Tesla to go up from that perspective. It's probably going to depend a lot more on the SPY. So back to kind of looking this from the SPY perspective, we definitely have some room to go up or down in Tesla, so nothing really confirming here. Me personally, I think it's once again a little bit hard to say. Like I said, I still have my options. I still think we're going up, but it just as easily this could have just been a kind of false breakout from the general green negative trend, and we might just come right back down, and we could come down fast. So I'm not so committed to that perspective, to be honest, but it's definitely a strong possibility. In terms of Amazon, similar type of thing, except this is a little bit better. We had this negative channel going down from a triangle, and now we've broken it, so maybe we're in a positive trend. I haven't really drawn it because, I'm biased towards the negative right now. To be fair, I did have a strangle, but we've just moved so far negative, so I'm just wondering, is this going to depend on the SPY or vice versa? Now, me personally, I guess it doesn't really matter. As long as it comes positive and moves fast enough in the positive direction, I'll still make money. But at the end of the day, I never really understood this stock, right? We had 100% earnings beat in terms of the surprise, and yet we broke down because of Jeff Bezos leaving, and I told you I didn't think that made a lot of sense. But at this point, the negative trend really could just pick right back up, and this could just be one positive day out of the channel. So I don't know if it's quite enough. In terms of Tesla, it was a little bit more. We had broken down that negative channel within the channel, and then we were positive channeling, and we broke so strongly out of it, I thought maybe. But, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased here. If you have Amazon and you think it's going to go up, it totally, totally could. I have no idea. I think it's going to depend. It followed quite a bit of the SPY today, so that's why I'm a little bit uncertain, right? Look at this breakout, and that was following the S&P 500. And then as the day ended, it came right back down, right? It hit this kind of plateau and then came right back down. It's almost like it's following the sentiment of the S&P 500. And so if the S&P 500 goes down tomorrow, which, like I said, is a very strong possibility, I wouldn't be surprised once it comes down far enough that it actually just falls into this channel again. But if you have a confirming day tomorrow, that would be really positive that we really are going towards maybe this apex over here. Okay, so that's kind of my perspective. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, comment. It really helps me know what you think. I might adjust my thoughts a little bit. It's just the market close. Obviously, a very tense day. Pretty exciting, which is why I wanted to post everything and give you guys updates just in terms of what's happening. In terms of the 10-year, we did see it back down quite a bit to 1.5. It's only 3%. So on one hand, not amazing. But on the other hand, it's not a crazy up day like these other days which drove the market down. And so are we going to expect another update tomorrow which will hit the market? I don't know. And that's, so much of the 10-year note is so important here because as yields rise, people move from the stock market into the bond market because they need higher interest rates to fight inflation. And so on one hand, inflation is good for the stock market too because something that was worth 100 will now be worth, maybe twice as much in 10 years than even if it didn't grow at all the business because inflation. Nevertheless, people move their money out of the stock market, and we'll have to talk about that another time, I suppose, in a different video. So at the end of the day, what's my prognosis? I think there's a strong shot that we could go positive. I think it almost depends on the beginning of the day what's going to happen. If we go too far down within this triangle, then people are going to see, oh, well, maybe this was kind of like a false breakout and we're really coming back down. And then it's really easy to 381. And then once we get to 381, either that day or the next day, especially if we break 381, it could easily be down to 369. And sadly, we are kind of at this really annoying, indecisive point here. And so it's sometimes easier to know what's going to happen in between these types of support and resistance lines. As we moved up here, it moved up fast. And then we broke out and it was just kind of, I wouldn't say a straight shot, but look how nice it was. And then we got to this resistance, this line over here. And then we came right back down. When we came down, it was coming down over here. And I was really scared that Tesla was going to take that hit. But look at Tesla. Tesla did not come down. It stayed at pretty close to its highs, even with the S&P 500 going down. And so from that perspective, I think it's actually a little bit of a positive on Tesla, assuming the S&P 500 goes up, because when the S&P 500 goes up, it'll pull Tesla up. And so from that perspective, that's nice. Now you can see right in here, there's a little triangle forming over here. It's hard to draw this for you to see it. But you can see this little triangle forming over here. And to be honest, when triangles break, they like to break wildly, I suppose. I don't know which way it's going to break, but it's going to break one way or the other. That's kind of how I look triangles. I don't like to assume which way they'll break. I just, you keep seeing kind of resistance and people fighting each other, and it gets to a point where someone seems to be winning and someone's kind of giving up the steam. And you can kind of look at it either way. People give up the steam at this line, and so maybe as we get closer and closer and closer, there's just, the people who keep selling over here will overtake. Or maybe it's vice versa. The people keep trying to sell it down and it keeps piling back up. And so that's why I'm not such a keen person to pick the triangles. But if you're just looking at Tesla in terms of what's going on, it's definitely possible for this to break tomorrow. And which way it'll break, I have no idea. But I'm expecting a move tomorrow. That's all I can say. And it's not so far out of this general downward trend for me to rule it out, which will be kind of sad. And that might be all these stocks could really move down that we've looked at, but they could also move up. And so now you're understanding my indecision, but at least you know everything that's going on. Like I said, maybe 1 or 2% leaning towards it going up, but that is such a small amount that I wouldn't, want to take a bet on that. But that's where I'm looking at, I guess. And thanks again so much for watching. Like I said, comment, subscribe. And sorry I ramble sometimes, but hope you enjoy it. And like I said, we'll get back to some of the deeper 10K analysis, because that's also really important. I like to analyze everything about the stock market, not just one technical direction or one deep kind of dive. It's all a holistic kind of look in terms of not just value or growth, but everything together. All right, thanks for watching.